You are about to enter a good news zone. Values in Action is next. Welcome to Values in Action, a program about leaders doing good in community, work, and schools. I'm Stuart Musinski, president of Project Love, along with our Values in Action Initiative Chair, Ratanjit Sande. Values are the connectors for a community that works. Our values define who we are, what we stand for, how we act, and ultimately, whether we are successful together. Every week we want to interview leaders to see how they are putting their values in action and how their actions define our community. Our guest today is Mort November, who's the founder of the Phyllis and Deborah Ann November Children's Fund. Mimi Plevin-Faust is going to give us a little profile of Mort November, his wife Iris, and the things that they do with the Children's Fund and their values in action.
The Phyllis and Deborah Ann November Children's Fund is probably one of the most focused in terms of their mission of any of the foundations I work with, and I work with about 50 supporting foundations at the Federation. The focus is all about children, doing things for children, particularly children who've had disadvantaged lives, and for making people happy.
When we wanted to do something for Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital, we wanted it to be happy. So we contacted Hector Vega, and he designed a mosaic statue. Well, it has a rainbow above it, so it's like under the rainbow, where dreams come true. And the title of the statue is Where Dreams Come True.
Mort, we want to find out about your values and why you put your values into the community. And can you tell us a little bit about what sparked this wave of philanthropy that you're doing? And start from the beginning.
Well, it started in 1992. You know, my daughter died in 1977, a long time. But not for me, it's not a long time, because I think about her every single day, so it's like yesterday. And I always knew something about her, that she loved children. And so everything we've done since 1992, and it's about, I think about 12 different projects, it is specifically for children.
Mort, I have a fundamental question. This program obviously is being heard by many people who are not that well off. They are struggling with life, with this economy as it is. Do we have to wait for us to lose a daughter? Or do we have to wait till we make a lot of money to be able to give back? How the ordinary person in this life, how do they get on this path? Obviously, this path has made a tremendous difference to you,
Yes.
as well as the community, which is utterly grateful to you.
Well, getting back a little bit to my daughter, and then I'll answer your two questions. I knew that my wife would want to do this in her name, in her memory, and because I feel in my heart I owe my daughter a lot. Never made her a wedding, never did any kind of celebrations. But no, people don't have to wait. I lost both my wife, and 19 months later my daughter first, 19 months later my wife. So it was a tragedy, but sometime after I started looking around what I could do to keep her name alive somehow, and I've done that. And as far as people doing this, I encourage people every single day to do something. It could be small, they don't have to be wealthy, just some small thing, because I read this book called Why Good Things Happen to Good People by Dr. Stephen Post. And it says in that book, if you're doing something good for other people, you'll live longer. And certainly I am in that point, because both my parents died in their 60s, and I'm over 60. Probably can't tell, but I am over 60. And we've done these things, and you know, besides everything else, this is all fun, good experiences. So I do encourage people to
So
do
how do people get started?
Well,
What value would inspire them to get into this thought process, which obviously is good for them to begin with?
That's right.
And it makes them complete and holistic and successful.
Well, let me add something else more to Ratanjit's question. We live in a society that is ever becoming a me society. What's in it for me? And so I'd like you to talk to, when society and your peers are telling you me, what's in it for me, how do you get out of yourself to give back?
I encourage people, no matter how much they want to give, if they give in a celebration for somebody's birthday, as simple as that, or an anniversary, or in memory, they're going to feel better about it. They're going to do something good for the recipient, the beneficiary of their gift, and they'll get a beautiful letter saying, your friend gave this amount of money to Project Love in memory of whoever or in celebration of your birthday. That's simple, and that takes away from the me, and I talk to people about that every day.
How important is recognition? Because a lot of people say, I've done so much for so
Yes.
many people, people don't even give me a thank you card. If you never got a trophy, you never got recognized, you never got a thank you, would you have still continued
Yes,
this thought process?
absolutely. Disappointed, but continued. I would. I always do that. But see, I'm trying to set people up like myself. I don't forget people. I don't. I certainly thank them when it's necessary, because I want to keep in touch with people. Stuart knows only too well, and now you, sir, that one of the best attributes of everything we do is the friends we've made. Sometimes better than relatives. But we've made lots of friends, including this nice man right here. And that is a very, very important advantage to Iris and I.
So it's, for you, it sounds as though you've gotten more out of this than a lot of the money that you've given.
Exactly. Exactly right.
So that if somebody gives to somebody else, it's not just about the giving. It's not necessarily expecting that in return, but you get it.
Yeah, it's the giving. And you live longer. And you feel better. And all along the way, you're having fun. You wouldn't believe it today, but I am having fun.
We're going to be back in a second, and we're going to talk more with Mort in November about giving back, about what you get from it, and about how it impacts our community. We're back with Mort November from the Phyllis and Deborah Ann November Children's Fund. Now, you know, a lot of people who give philanthropy, they just give money and they want their name on a building. Why do you get involved?
Well, as I mentioned before, that we made a lot of friends. We try not to cut them off and say, well, I've done this, goodbye, I won't see you again. We like to visit them. Last night I was invited out to the Cuyahoga Valley National Park because they had a real nice party and so many people there, and this is pretty nice. You know, they come up to me and say, are you Mort November? The November Lodge there is named in memory of my wife and daughter. I says, I am. I never had any of that. I grew up, I was, you know, very, very poor. I had nothing, really, for years and years and years. Then I went to work after I got out of the Army in 1947, and I've been working ever since, selling. And so I'm appreciating the better things in life.
Let's talk for a moment about the value of remembrance. You know, once again, in our society, we're the me society, and somebody passes away.
Yes.
And I see it with the younger generation today. Somebody passes away, and you just kind of go about your life. But that wasn't the case for you.
No. No, because I love my mother and father, and they both died in their 60s, and I try to keep them alive. I try to do everything possible, calling doctors, looking for solutions to their problems, never could, and so they died. And then, of course, after that, my daughter and then my wife died. And for my daughter specifically, it's important that she be remembered somehow. Now, when you see her name on the building, it's not going to mean that much. They won't know if there was a Deborah Ann November. They just won't know them. I do. And when I see their name on the building, I love it. Some people say, you don't have to put my name on anything. Some people say, I'm going to leave my money after I die. Well, that I would never do. I want to see the results. I want to see what I'm doing right now. So I'm not bashful about asking for her name. Not specifically my name, but her name. So almost everywhere you go, you'll see the Deborah Ann November Learning Center at the East Cleveland Library, the Deborah Ann November Autism Center at the Cleveland Clinic, and the Deborah Ann November Research Greenhouse at Squire Valley View Farm. That's just 3 of them. And every year, probably in January, we send a group of children from the Cleveland schools on a trip. Usually we sent them to Dearborn, Michigan, Henry Ford Museum. This year we're sending them to the Cuyahoga Valley Environmental Education Center for 4 days and 3 nights. Well, to see these 10-year-old kids who really have never been away from home, they're mostly from the inner city, get on the bus, and as they get on the bus, I spend a lot of my time writing to different companies to send gifts for these kids. So they get on the bus, they get a bag of gifts, and they love it. Nobody's ever done this for them because there's no money available for them. And so that's a lot of fun. And we really look forward to it. We've done that since 1992.
See, Mort, you have an incredible opportunity for these young kids you are touching on a regular basis. How can you put them on this path of giving back, which is eventually, because we love to have you for 1,000 years and we love to duplicate you, but as the life goes,
Yes.
after you are not with us, how do we carry on this mission?
That is very difficult. I'm talking to 10-year-old kids, and I tell them about these gifts that I've acquired for them, and I tell them how I acquire them, because I'll write to a company and I'll tell them about what we do, and if they can afford to send me something, I'm talking about large manufacturers, fine. If not, I understand, and I'll write you again. So I think that's what these children have to learn, how to talk to other people.
How do we teach them?
Hopefully the teachers are doing it, but I can only do it like twice a year. And I do it when these children get on the bus to go down to the Cuyahoga Valley this coming year, and when they're out there, because we have a luncheon for them. And I try to tell them, and I read some paragraphs from this book from Dr. Stephen Post about giving, how important it is, things that they'll understand. It's no use me talking about them over their head. That's not going to mean anything. But they have to learn really from their parents starting out and their teachers, because there is a lot of good in it. I learned it late in life. It took 2 deaths for me to learn about this. And I knew what I had to do, and now things are falling into place.
I thank Mort for all that you do, for how you inspire so many in our community. And we're going to be back in a moment to talk to our community panel about the impact of Mort and Iris November on the community by the giving that they do.